easy to forget sometimes our place in a natural world, a world we can't control, switch on and off, just as we'd like. The reminders come in summer storms that roll across northern New South Wales, dumping rain and hail, bringing damage and inconvenience. But 50 years ago, the elements were converging for one of the biggest floods in the state's history.
All towns in the shaded area are underwater, and damage already totals many millions of pounds. A few days ago, this was fertile, productive land, amongst the best in Australia. Today, the farmer, his family, and his stock are swept away.
After weeks of rain, catchments were saturated, streams swollen. Then two weather systems collided, bringing a deluge. Maitland in the Hunter Valley had known many floods, but a sudden collapse of levee banks caught many by surprise and enveloped the city in a desperate life and death emergency.
Along the railway embankment on Black Friday, men ran for their lives as the full force of the flood suddenly swept down. They took refuge in that distant signal box, which seems to be withstanding the water's fury. Surrounded by the torrent, they hope for rescue. For a short while, they seem safe, but then, tragedy. The signal box collapsed. At left is the head of a man thrown into the dreadful torrent.
Hazardous rescue work is continued by a Navy helicopter, despite stark tragedy. After being picked up here, two men fell to their deaths on these high-tension wires.
The helicopter itself went down after that, and the two people on board, the pilot and his co-pilot, they were picked up 5 kilometres away in the wash, and the helicopter wasn't found for over 2 months later. 24th of April, 2 kids found it when they were poking around amongst the flood debris. A lot happened here. This was part of the tragic part of 1955.
There were amazing stories of survival and terrible tragedy. 3 rescuers were electrocuted when the radio aerial of their army duck hit live wires.
We're approaching Mount Pleasant Street now. This is a street which had houses in it across this floodway prior to 1955. Between 50 and 60 houses were washed completely away from this street, and a wall of water came through here. It hit these houses, took trucks, cars, all sorts of things with it. The houses were moved off their piers, disintegrated, people in them, people on them. A lot of them hit the Long Bridge, disintegrated as they hit the Long Bridge. Parts of the Long Bridge were carried away, as well as the houses. People were on the houses.
In all, 14 people died in the disaster. Maitland was cut off for days. Rail lines and roads smashed, communications cut, power and water out. Rescue and relief came with surf boats, amphibious vehicles and airdrops. The clean-up was immense and heartbreaking. The cost of the 55 flood in today's money was $1.3 billion, more than the Newcastle earthquake. Throughout this week, we'll hear from the rescuers and the rescued, and the experts who warn it can happen again.
Probably Australia-wide, nationwide, worldwide. You know, people have to be aware of what can happen. Rivers are wonderful things, but they're also potentially dangerous things. They're formed by massive floods over the years, and massive floods will keep on happening. You're not going to have a cessation of severe weather events just because it's the year 2005 and we like comfortable living. We'll still have those things.
Of northern New South Wales, and in particular the Hunter Valley and Maitland. As we near the 50th anniversary of the big flood, memories of those dramatic days are fading. But emergency authorities warn it can happen again.
This is a model of a town in peril, a town which has been flooded several times, the town of Maitland. At the headquarters of the Water Conservation Commission at Manly Vale, the area has been built in a perfect scale model so experts can experiment with the best ways of mitigating flood damage. A carefully calculated amount of water is released. From these experiments, spillways will be built to channel water away from the worst affected areas to places where damage will be negligible.
Ever since the 1955 flood, authorities have been working, mapping, modelling, trying to predict but unable to prevent another major flood.
So we're utilising the same natural floodways that have always existed and now trying to use them in a controlled manner to minimise damage.
During the 1955 flood, the Hunter River swelled to 200 times its normal daily flow and peaked at 12 metres at what was Maitland's Belmore Bridge. Millions of dollars have been spent acquiring land, building levees and spillways To deflect the flood flow, special gates dam off the railway. But as this computer simulation shows, Maitland isn't flood-proof. Over a few days and with a similar volume to the 55 flood, Maitland would still be encircled and inundated.
Even the ring levee is overtopped, allowing the floodwater to enter Maitland.
Real advances have been made in monitoring and predicting weather patterns, measuring flood flows further upstream, and knowing pretty much to within centimetres where the water will reach and what warnings and actions need to be taken. Local council planning regulations too are designed to prevent more houses being built in harm's way.
It's good to keep reminding newer residents to the city as to the reasons why you can't build here and develop in floodway or flood-prone area. And people have a bit of difficulty in understanding that because they will say, look, it's been 50 years since the flood, so why won't you allow me to do it?
People tend to become dependent on authorities doing everything for them. If the authorities are there to say, there's a flood coming and you're being warned, do this, do that, they tend to sit back and do nothing themselves. And in the past, I think people were more proactive. They moved their cattle, they moved their machinery, they got themselves out, they moved quickly, they helped other people. They did things without being instructed to or being told to or being warned. It's a different kind of population now.
The 55 flood could definitely happen again, and that's one of the big things that we are trying to impress upon people, that and some people who have never seen a flood of any magnitude that are now living in the floodplain in the Maitland area and also up the valley, that a 55 flood will definitely come again.
Tomorrow night, would you be ready for an emergency? And we meet the people who are. Their shed is crammed with tarpaulins, flood boats and sandbagging gear. To lend a hand, a shoulder, when nature serves us up a swipe.
The volunteers are the lifeblood of the whole service, State Emergency Service. We have people who are very, very good in assisting us with flood operations.
In 1955, residents became refugees overnight, trapped in their own town for days. Having lost most of their belongings to the swirling floodwaters, people waited to be rescued, queued for food and shelter. Now, with advanced early flood warnings, an emergency evacuation should be less chaotic.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Not too bad, yourself?
Good. We're from the State Emergency Service, and unfortunately we have to issue a evacuation warning.
In a major emergency, the luxuries we've come to take for granted, such as electricity, clean water, sewerage, transport and phones, might be all or partially knocked out.
The biggest thing is to stay calm and think of things that you require for the next couple of days. Things like medication, a spare change of clothes, pet food, if you're taking a pet with you, those type of things. So it's pretty much what we're going to do to survive the next couple of days. Battery-operated gear like torches and radios are always a good way to stay in touch with communications such as radio stations and things like that. And yes, we have had to go through and warn people that floodwater would be coming through, and they've taken no notice. The next day we've gone through, we'd be over our wheels in water, and they're trying to move stuff out. Once we've been through and we've informed people that an evacuation is to take place, it's usually up to people to get out then.
Rescue boats ply what a few hours ago were streets, and the victims, their precious belongings lying under 6 feet of water in their homes, are tenderly helped aboard.
Tomorrow night, we hear a first-hand account of rescue and rebuilding.
What makes people determined that when the water falls, they'll go back again? Nothing more or less than that magic word, home.
Because disease threatens in a town buried in mud, women, children and invalids continue to be evacuated.
Happened to a lot of people, and you've got to get on with life, haven't you? You know,
Life goes on.
You can't just sit and worry about what's going to happen next. So we hope we did it right.
It's just another experience that one has in one's lifetime.
And we wouldn't want to do it again.
No.
Tomorrow night, the enduring images of the Maitland flood and the people who brought them to us.
Levee banks and swept into town as a raging torrent. News pictures help define those dramatic times. They'll feature in commemorative displays and events in Maitland this weekend.
Modern-day Maitland gives very few hints of its dramatic past, but it doesn't try to hide them either. There's a cafe now near where swirling floodwaters broke through.
The swollen Hunter River has broken its banks.
Who could imagine frantic food drops over High Street? A tidy mall was awash with dangerous currents where newsreel cameramen captured unforgettable images. Scenes were recreated for a recently re-released Aussie movie classic, Newsfront, right down to the flooded town hall.
Got your order here.
It is just so hard to imagine that a flood boat rowed in to the town hall, right up to the stage.
Don't see many places with indoor pools, do you?
Well, in some regards, it was a curse. I mean, if you're outside the city and people say, where'd you come from? And you say, well, I come from Maitland, and they say, oh, you still get floods? Like, you know, the reference was there to being a flood city. And so it's very hard to beat that image, you know, to say, hey, look, we're alive and well and we're really going ahead.
Just over the road at the City Art Gallery, you get the feeling that Maitland has come of age with its well-attended opening of a 55 flood exhibition. It's a unique collection, pictures of locals, mostly by locals. A recent visitor was former Newcastle Sun photographer Ron Morrison. By light plane, truck, tractor and army duck, he travelled to the flood-ravaged Upper Hunter towns. He was thought drowned after 3 days without word.
And it was coming over, I think, either 2HD or 2KO, saying that anyone know the whereabouts of Ron Morrison, last heard of at Muswellbrook on Thursday. So the family were pleased to see me come in the door.
Ron captured pictures of rescue and resilience.
There was no water, no electricity, no sewage, and these bus full of Cessnock miners that came into Singleton to help clean up, and they actually brought a glimmer of hope.
When his big press camera packed it in due to unrelenting rain, Ron kept snapping on his wife's pocket camera that he'd taken along just in case, capturing some of the most defining images of the 1955 flood.
All the pictures are in black and white, but I can actually remember colour of certain things, like I can remember the muddy water, the green sort of parts of the duck that it was in, the actual coloured flowers on the dress of a picture I shot of, I think it was Constable Jim Bell from Newcastle Police. He brought the two babies, children, over first, and he piggybacked the mother. And I can remember her dress and her cardigan, the colour, quite vividly. I don't know whether that's a memory. Maybe you're getting old and when you get memories like that.
People that have been, you know, had all their belongings taken, but they could still manage a smile. And of course, as is a common occurrence anywhere where there appears to be a flood or something like that, you have photographs of men standing at the bar, waist deep in water. The keg is on the bar, or if they found the keg floating downstream and it's still got some beer left inside it, they'd take time out to have a drink and still enjoy the work that they had to do.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by.
Andrew Lobb, NBN News.